5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow in Pit Lane's weekly get-together, where we sit around and we just basically chew the fat about all things local motorsport and other stuff beyond there. Yes, it's In Pit Lane coming to you tomorrow night at 9:30 on Channel 31 in Melbourne, if you're in Melbourne, or on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. Our special guest this week is Carrera Cup and TCR driver Dylan O'Keefe. Dylan in action this weekend down in Tasmania for the second round of the TCR series, and also, of course, we'll be at the opening round of the Carrera Cup on the streets of Albert Park a little bit the week later on. So a busy time ahead for Dylan, and he tells us all about that in this week's program. Also, we've got some live music from Standing Room Only. They joined us last night, a Melbourne singer-songwriter trio. They joined us for a couple of songs for the extended version of the show. Joining us tonight in the show, look, everybody's busy at the moment. Pete's got an early morning, and Doc is on special assignment involving the Grand Prix. We can't tell you what or why, but he's there. Trust me. But joining us on the program this week, we've got Mark Jones, the man from Queensland, the motorsport guru of all of Queensland, and also we've got Richard Outram. Champion. He hasn't won one yet, but he will be a champion Hyundai Excel driver. G'day, guys. How are we?
He's still in points contention for the title this year.
Not for the simulator.
Yes, that's it. But we'll talk about your latest on-track adventures a little bit later, Richard, because God knows, I mean, there's not, apart from the great soap opera happening at both Red Bull and Erebus, I mean, there's on track. There's not a huge amount happening. We've got the Grand Prix coming, although once again, I mean, it's interesting. I saw an advert. I was out and about the other day. In fact, heading up to the hospital, I went through Dandenong. I parked my car at the local shopping centre at Dandenong Plaza and was walking through. And on the big screen was a huge advertisement for the Australian Formula One Grand Prix, and it was interesting. It was very exciting. Lots of flashing lights and colour and movement and all the rest of it. Sort of realised at the end of it all, there was not one single shot of a single car in the whole. There were people dancing. There were DJs playing. The beer was flowing and the champagne corks were popping and the food was being dispensed everywhere and people were just having a wonderful, wonderful party time, but there were no cars. And that is
like horse racing, really.
Exactly. They are now using the Melbourne Cup formula, which, let's face it, has worked an absolute treat because nobody goes to the Melbourne Cup for the horse racing. I mean, it's like, there was a horse race, really? Who won that? But who cares? But yeah, it was very much.
I went to a cocktail ball and a horse race broke out while I was looking.
Yeah, it's a bit like that for the Grand Prix, but it will be a packed. It'll be the one thing you can say now. So yeah, that's the problem. They keep trying to add more spaces. They keep releasing. They're sort of milking it a bit. They keep. We've found like a small stack of general admission passes for Thursday and Friday when nobody wants to be there. At least Thursday. But they sell out within a matter of minutes as well. So nobody can deny that the thing is extremely popular. Formula One just going through an absolute boom at the moment right around the world, despite the fact that the racing on track is pretty predictable in the main. Do we want to talk about? I don't know about either of you guys, but because Pete isn't here, I know Pete would certainly be up at that hour of the morning watching live. He never misses a race, no matter what time it's on. But I got up. I was recovering. I was recovering from Phillip Island, and boy, did it need some recovering from. Boy, that was more on that later. very hot weekend. But yeah, anybody watch the race? Either of you guys?
Yeah,
I
watched
did.
it. Yep. Yep. They ran it off for second place again. They just
Yeah,
had-
I think if you take the Max Verstappen factor out of it, perhaps if you just sort of totally ignore the guy running around in front, probably it's a lot more entertaining if you sort of put him out of your mind and pretend that the fight for second is the fight that matters.
But when we all missed the fact that Daniel ended up stuck in the pits for over 30 seconds.
I did.
That's why he suddenly dropped to the back of the field.
Well,
no one else noticed that.
No, I completely missed that. No.
Yeah. His last pit stop absolutely shellacked him.
What was the
I
reason?
don't know. I noticed that he was missing during the telecast, and nobody said a thing. And then Speed Cafe had something on it that did anyone notice that Ricardo was stuck in it for over 30 seconds? Might have been 40 seconds or something like that. Yeah, I did, but they didn't mention what happened, so I'm still in the dark.
The interesting thing is, in the instant quote machine, Helmut Marko has come out and basically put Daniel on notice and saying, we're not happy with the performance of either driver, to be honest with you. However, at least Yuki is certainly faster in qualifying right now, and is putting in there. But Daniel has been very disappointing as far as. And and I think there's reading between the lines. He's saying, you need to pull your finger out because this, if there is a drive coming up at Red Bull next year, it might be getting further and further out of Daniel's reach if he doesn't start getting a few points here and there.
But Helmut Marko has always hated him. It's almost you couldn't hide it in the box.
He's too irreverent for Marco's liking.
Well, this is his thing about Australians in general. I mean, ask Craig Lowndes, ask Mark Webber, ask anybody who's dealt with him. We had sort of I must admit, we can't say too much, but we had sort of an insider in the world of Red Bull, sort of someone known to us. Sorry, as I kick the camera, somebody known to us who actually was working with the team about quite a few years ago now. Hasn't worked with them for a while. He's back in Australia now. Don't know what he's doing now, but. He was working with the team as well. And he said at one stage, he said that, Marko, when Daniel was doing, when Mark Webber was doing well and was a real challenge, a major challenge to Sebastian Vettel at the time, Marko was going around and saying, a world championship and it is a effing kangaroo. He said, Smiley, he hated, and he had words with Craig Lowndes. Lowndes, he said that, he got, very early in the piece, he got, really bawled out by Marko because it was like, you take that smile off your face, you finished fifth. There is no reason for you to be smiling. Why are you smiling? So,
yes, well, didn't we see Marko at the Nuremberg rally at some stage in the past? No, it must have been someone else. Sorry.
Yeah, he's a very bitter, in many ways, he's a very bitter old man. But he's taking out that bitterness in the fight with Horner at the moment. It seems that Christian Horner is becoming increasingly marginalised in the place because now Adrian Newey's being dragged into the fight as well, and there's talk that according to the article that I just read online at Autosport, they're saying that apparently Newey is more in the Marko Red Bull Austria camp than he is with Horner. So. That's if you have a look at it, on the side, Christian is running out of friends, perhaps.
Well, I could always do with a good team boss on my team, or maybe a world-class aerodynamicist.
Yeah, I'm not sure what even Adrian Newey can do to improve the aerodynamics on a Hyundai Excel.
Perhaps you can bring the pies over.
I'm wondering if the question is that did Helmut Marko perhaps never get over how his own Grand Prix career ended?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it was
Yeah,
obviously
that's a
very
good one.
tragic, very disappointing. I mean, in terms of what happened. For those who don't know, I mean, he got a stone was thrown up by a car in front and went through his visor and took out his eye.
Yeah,
And that
lost a
was
1972 French Grand Prix at Clermont-Ferrand, which is
yeah.
on the side of an extinct volcano, I think, and so there's always and that's why the prevalence of rocks at that particular racetrack. But yeah, Marco was a Le Mans 24-hour winning Grand Prix driver up until 1972, where it kind of went a bit wrong for him.
Yeah, there you go. There's a solution. You just do what Liam Hill's doing with his sports sedan. Just whack whack a V8 in it, and it'll be fine. Liam, when are we seeing this sports sedan? I mean, it's this V8 powered Hyundai. I mean, it was a beautiful looking car. I mean, we've seen it in the workshop. I mean, we saw it when it had its 4-cylinder turbo engine in it, but he's managed to shoehorn I believe that it's not a 6-liter. I believe it's actually an ex-supercar engine. It's a 5-liter Ford, I think. But we haven't. Once again, this is the thing about sports sedans. There's so many exciting cars out there. Unfortunately, none of them are actually at the track. They're all in the workshop, being sort of built and rebuilt and built again. And
well, it's not far off from round one now. Is that actually this weekend?
Yeah, this weekend down. Yeah, and no Ricardo and no Jordan Caruso. So the two fastest. Sorry, Ricciardello.
Yes.
Another sort of another Italian Western Australian. So no Tony Ricciardello and no Jordan Caruso. There, Steve Tomasi, I suppose, might start favourite there this weekend. It's not a bad,
Ashley Jarvis.
Field. Ashley Jarvis is there with the he was very, very consistent last year. He was he was sort of the surprise package because no one sort of knew too much about it. And then he was always there, and you looked at qualifying and he was nowhere near. But at the end of the race, he was he was either second or third. And actually, I think he won a race here and there, didn't he? I'm not sure if he got, but he was in contention all year because he just, as all around as everybody else was falling around him, and he was Mr. Consistency, and so you would imagine that he would be in contention as well for the
TA2 Series champion.
Yeah, and the Trans Am will be down. There's good card which will be on. You'll be able to see that on 7 Mate. They'll be televising that all weekend. As Paul's pointing out, Knackers are saying, like busy weekend in Victoria. I've got to say this sort of really annoys me. I'm going to upset more people at AASA now because apparently I've upset them with other things. This is the having it both ways. I mean, you've got the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championship, the Motorsport Australian Circuit. They booked Winton. They're going up to Winton. They're paying their money to be at Winton. And then Winton turn around and schedule a round of their alternative state series at Calder Park on exactly the same weekend. And not to mention, the motocross down at Wonthaggi, which was getting there was a lot of advertising for that all over Phillip Island on the weekend. There were posters in windows and on the drive down, there were signs up everywhere for the race at Wonthaggi this weekend. But I know there's also a come and try day at Sandown. That's where I might end up with the camera. There's a come and try day from the BMW club at Sandown as well, and all of them are just screaming, "Please, marshals, please! We're running short on marshals." Well, is it any bloody wonder? I mean,
Plus Phillip Island last weekend and the Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time.
That's right.
We had
all
Sandown.
The good marshals are going to be taken.
Well, I mean, it's asking a lot. I mean, to a lot of them would have been, because Phillip Island's always Phillip, the historic is especially with older mo, but that's always very popular. There was certainly plenty of marshals down there, and everybody, despite the ridiculous hot temperatures that that they had down there. First time I've ever said that, I think, about Phillip Island. I mean, out there, it literally killed 2 of our cameras. We had one that just shut down and refused to operate because of thermal issues, and the other one, the dock was trying to operate, literally disintegrated in his hands. Things just started falling off. And I had repaired it. It had broken years ago, and I'd repaired it with brackets and epoxy and all sorts of things to hold it together. And it had that, but the heat just got to it, and it just fell apart.
It's perished.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm going to try and find a way of reviving that. It's all of our, except for one of our cameras. Our other 2 cameras are like 15 years old now, and they're certainly on their last legs. But the problem is, I mean, when you start talking about the sort of cameras that we need for the job, even second-hand ones. We tried to get hold of a second-hand one on eBay during the week, and they still go for, even 10-year-old ones still go for $900, $1,200. So yeah, it's a lot of money. But anyway, so obviously a lot happening this weekend at the state series. If you're not watching the action down in Tasmania, the state series from Winton is on Blendline TV as well. So if you're interested, have a look at that. Don't know what the fields are like. Winton's usually pretty popular, but I haven't heard anything at all. I think we're increasingly, in Pit Lane is becoming a motorsport show that is becoming persona non grata with everybody in motorsport. So it's becoming a bit hard to do that. Yeah, I think that's another one. Yeah, that is another way. It's also incidentally the way that you can annoy media as well, because a lot of the media people have been told that they're to be at briefings, safety briefings at about, I think it's 7 a.m. For some of that, and that's not just the Grand Prix. I think in Adelaide that's happening this weekend as well. The Adelaide Festival of Motorsport. Roy's heading over there from motorsportarchive.com, an online event. He's heading over with his camera to have a look at that. And awesome. They wanted media at 7 a.m. in the which is just the way to dissuade mainstream media from covering your event is to tell them that if they want to wave a camera around, they've got to be there at 7 a.m. when most of them are only going, if they're going to be doing stuff for news, they're only going to be there for an hour maximum, and they're going to want to be there for the main race. They're not going to come in the morning, have yet another safety briefing about things that they've known for decades, and then you get kicked out again. It's like, it's really annoying, and once again, it's treating people like children. Yes, I know you have done this before, sir, but I am telling you again, if you will listen, you must not stand on the track during. Oh, for God's sake.
Well, can you imagine how long a day it's going to be if you sign on at 5:30 in the morning for the officials? And I mean, it's all right that most of them are 18 to 19 years old. Huh?
Oh yes. I mean, we're so fortunate. I mean, thankfully they're all young and fit, and
they're teens and stuff that.
And they get treated so well. I mean, they have fabulous food and wonderful drinks and facilities all day. Lots and lots of long breaks, whenever they need them. And welcome to Fantasyland, because it's very tough, but they've got to give up. Basically, it's not just the 4 days of the Grand Prix, because now they've got to be there for the Wednesday as well, and then you've got people who are not marshals as such, but other Grand Prix staff are being asked to come back on Monday and Tuesday as well. So it's a long gig. Yeah. So anyway, that's the situation there. But anyway, let's get back to on track. Anything we want to say about the weekend's Formula One apart from Max one? Daniel had a disappointing day, and we see and Chris is joining us there. Go, Chris.
Hello, how are you?
So we
Good
can see
evening.
you. There he is. So and there. So how did the op? You can see us, can you? How many fingers am I holding up?
3.
2.
Oh, there you go. Well done. Isn't modern medicine wonderful? How did it all go?
One eye's been done, the other eye's yet to go.
Oh, okay. Have you noticed an improvement in the one they have done?
Dramatically.
Great.
Oh, fantastic.
Fabulous.
Who are you people anyway?
Yes.
Where did you come from? How did you get here?
Yes, I know a few people who have had and it's the same thing. I had like one of my old next door neighbour. He had I suppose it was more serious, but it was after it, like he had a heart operation. He went, "Oh, I've never had a heart attack." And I went, "No, you need a bypass." And it's like, "No, I'm fine." And he sort of came in. The first time I saw him after he got out of hospital, he went, "I had no idea how sick I was until I was well."
Because it does. It sneaks up on you.
You do.
It
You
takes
get
50
used.
or 60 years, but yeah.
Yeah. You do it. It's the frog in the boiling water.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, Brett.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just sit there and go, "Oh, it's a bit warm." My gee, it's getting very warm. By then suddenly it's too late. But yeah. So when are you going to have the next one?
In mid-April, I think.
Okay. Oh, well, it's good that it worked out. Yes, it certainly does make a difference, as to everybody I know who's had one. Mine is still a few years away, apparently. So it's only on this eye. Yeah, but yeah. Paul, I remember this, Paul. Yeah. That one of the reasons, Roy and I were talking about this online the other day. It happened to the Gold Coast as well. For the IndyCars, a lot of the American media were furious, and they said, "Yeah, well, where are our photo access points?" And they went, "What do you mean photo access points?" It's like, you stand behind the guardrail and you shoot through there, and it's like, no, that's not how it works. And eventually, I think up there they did get some stuff, but I know that they were just stunned at the late. In fact, they very pointedly said one morning at one of their media briefings, the guy from, his name was Chris too. I forget his last name now, but he was the media guy for IndyCar, and during the briefing, he said to our Australian friends, he said, if you need any help in getting good shots, if you need any help in promoting our sport around Australia and around the world, please come and talk to us, and we'll see what we can arrange. We are here to help you. I know how foreign that concept is to you after dealing with the Australian controlling body, but we are actually here to make your job easier. And it was very obviously very pointed. And I know somebody who did get a very good shot that they'd have never ever got from Australia, because he said, I just need to be out there, and then someone sort of drags me back in, and then they went, we'll talk about that. And then they came back and they said, okay, you get one shot at it. We'll put you in the position, the cars are coming towards you, you take your shot, we drag you back. And he got a really good shot out of it. But and there was no way that Motorsport Australia, or CAMS as it was then, would have ever allowed anything like that with an Australian photographer. And that's the thing about dealing with the Americans in general. They're just so good with the media side. It's like, what can we do to help you? We want to promote our sport. We want to make our sport look as good as possible. And if you want to cover our sport, we want to help you, and we want to make that easier, which is 180 degrees opposite from what happens here. There, box saying, good to see you back, Chris. So there you
Thank you,
go.
Box. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, so it is good to have you back. But yeah, so okay, so the Red Bull argument continues. As I said, Adrian Newey now sort of dragged into it, so that's unfortunate. But he's have no problem. I mean, I don't think he'll care one way or the other. I mean, he could just walk out whenever if it gets too annoying, he'll just say, "Look, I'll go design some yachts or something until I get another gig." He could walk into any Formula One team or any World Endurance Championship team or pretty much any race car or major performance car builder in the world would be more than happy to have Adrian Newey if he wanted to continue full time or even on a consulting basis. He would make a fortune. But okay, so let's go on the local scene. Supercars, Shannon Keeley, the latest to leave Erebus, and we haven't really heard any reasons. I mean, Shannon started in the media. In my dealings with her were all when she was involved in media, and she was very, very good in that role. And Betty sort of was very impressed and put her in charge of the team basically. And as far as I knew, they were very close, and Betty had a lot of respect for Shannon, and they did a lot of good work during the COVID situation. They were making protective masks and gear. They got involved in designing and producing them, and I went out to the launch of that, and they were very proud and very community minded, and Shannon was up to her neck in that, and that was it. All looked very positive, and now and all of a sudden it's announced that after the Grand Prix meeting, she's leaving as well. But I haven't seen anywhere. There's been no talk about why, whether she's fed up with all of the nonsense or whatever the reason. No one knows, and no one seems to be asking. So,
well, he's hoping it's because there's a big, better opportunity for her somewhere else that she's grabbing hold of.
yeah, I don't know, and there could be. I mean, it could be personal, or it could be wanting to, like move out of Victoria or something. I don't know. I believe she's sort of partnered with Scott Pye, and I don't know where Scott's located now. Or he was, of course, racing down here, but I think he might be up in Queensland. Do you know, Mark?
No, I do not. It's because we haven't gone racing this year yet. So although that will change this weekend, Morgan Park is running this weekend, and then Queensland Raceway is on in a couple of weeks' time, first weekend of April. But no, I don't know Scott. Well, I don't know Scott personally. I did. I had sort of exchanges with him from time to time when he was coming up through the ranks, and was still working for Motorsport News as it was at the time. But no, not since. No, not in a little. I'm taking a very long time to say no. I don't know Scott. So.
But anyway, wherever it is, there are a couple apparently, and some people have said that it might have something to do with that, because Scott doesn't have a full-time gig this year, but he will be driving in the Enduros with Walkinshaw Andretti United, so he will be with them. And obviously, I mean, if he's not driving full time down here at he may well be he might well be back up in Queensland or wherever he is, but and perhaps Shannon wants to be there with him. So I don't know. Haven't heard anything about it. Haven't heard of any conflict. But anyway, she was that will be certainly yet another blow to Betty. And Betty looked to me in that interview as being someone who is starting to who's getting a little bit fed up with all of this. I mean, she loves the sport and all, and being a part, but increasingly she's not coming to races anymore. She's got her property in the Blue Mountains or somewhere around there, and she's having with her ducks and her chickens and her goats and all the sorts of everything else up there, sort of living the good life as well. So she's, I think, it wouldn't surprise me at some stage if we hear that Betty might be looking for a sale for Erebus. And I know a guy living, an expat living in America right now, who runs a telecommunications company, a small little operation called Boost or something, that has shown some interest in actually owning a supercar team and running a supercar team. So I don't know. I mean, he would certainly shake up the place. I mean, in terms of his opinion, because he's not backward in coming forward. I mean, he would be the ideal. The media would love it. Well, the media would love it. I mean, because there would be. He's a walking quote machine.
Yeah, if only we could get the general media to pay more attention to the sport. That would be.
Well, they don't even want the motorsport meet. I mean, we're coming up for the Grand Prix next weekend. We've got the apart from Carrera Cup, we have the supercars, and we know that for our show we've got a prime time on the opening day of the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. We've got a prime time Melbourne-based television show going to air at 9:30. And do you think we can get a single guest from anywhere involved in there? I mean, we could get another. I mean, tomorrow night we've got Dylan O'Keefe from the Carrera Cup, but I didn't want sort of another Carrera Cup guy the night afterwards. And we approached people, a number of supercar teams, local supercar teams. Most didn't respond. The ones that did sort of said, "Oh no, they're too busy. They're not. They've got other commitments. Not available that week. Not available the week after." And a couple of people, I said, "Well, what about the week after that?" "Oh, no, that's very difficult. They need a bit of time off." And then, of course, we've got the Tasmanian. They won't have any time at all preparing for the trip to Tasmania, because we know how long and arduous and terrible that is. So yeah, they're not interested in promoting it at all. It's just it's there, it's happening. As one media guy said to me a couple of years ago, he said it's a great gig. He said you produce 3 press releases. He said you send one to Speed Cafe, you send one to Auto Action, and your job's done. So
that's sad.
Yeah, it is.
And we both remember who that person was.
Yes. But anyway, or you and I do anyway, yes. But anyway, let's move from there. Let's on an international level. Anybody wants some MotoGP? Doc's not here because, as I said, Doc's doing some Grand Prix related stuff. So opening round, and sort of, yeah. Well, so did I. It really snuck up. It was only sort of when I started to get the media releases from some of the teams that I went, oh, hang on a second. But once again, because it's in the Middle East, it's a really bad time for us. So I didn't get there. Another unfortunate race for Jack Miller. Jack sort of had some certainly had some issues, and was finished well down the field. But so I didn't see anything much of it at all. So I can't sort of say much. So if nobody else did. It was a win to Ducati. I think it was Bagnaia won again, and it's the European Cup. It's Ducati, and I think Brad Binder might have finished second. I'm going from memory now, but I think Brad Binder finished second on the KTM. So Miller's bike is competitive. The European bikes are just dominating at the moment, and Johan Mir has sort of said to Honda, we need to pull our finger out, but he said we're basically competing for what he called the Japan Cup. It was like there's the Europeans are at one level, and the Japanese teams are at the other, and a lot of that is because of the rules and regulations. I mean, Dorna are very keen to have European manufacturer involvement, and they think they've sort of bent over backwards to make sure the European teams are competitive, and perhaps they've bent a bit too far. Okay, well, I don't think we've got a whole lot more to talk about. Because it's been a very, very quiet week in most. Oh yes, coming up we've got Steve. Yes, we've got IndyCar. Joseph Newgarden, very, very, very good performance, and Scotty McLaughlin came through for a third, I think.
Mm-hmm. So Will Powell was fourth, right behind him.
Yes, so a good start for the Antipodeans over there on the streets on St. Petersburg. That was they're also young Australian, and his name eludes me at the moment. One dominated in US Formula Ford 2000 or F2000, I think they call it now. In the Pro Series, he had a big weekend. So another fast Australian coming through the ranks there. And of course Shane van Gisbergen, another very, very consistent race again on the oval. I mean, was there when it mattered, and was in contention for a good result, and eventually finished sixth, I think. So
yes, that's right.
Yeah, so did anybody watch that race?
Yeah, I watched it, yeah. He was lucky not to get involved in quite a big smack up on the main straight, but he got through that. He just kept picking away at them one at a time. Very consistent, very...
as is his style.
Nothing flashy. And everyone ignored him except for the race car drivers on the commentary team. They spotted and going, hey, this guy's got something. He's really getting a handle on NASCAR.
There's no doubt about it. If you listen to any of the drivers there, and Kevin Harvick does a TV show come podcast, and it's on YouTube where he has an extensive one-on-one with Shane. And you can tell, I mean, he makes no secret of the fact that, the experienced drivers are looking at him and going, he's very much a talent, and we know how good he's going to be on the road courses. We know how, they're pretty much just expecting him to win in Chicago again. But what they're really surprised at is how quickly he has adapted to the ovals, and how reliable he's been, and his racecraft. Just that ability to time, as we know, to just keep his tyres in good condition, to basically work his way through the field if necessary, and be there at the right time of the race.
And he keeps out of trouble. He's constantly knows where not to be, unless you just can't avoid it. And you watch him; he's not flashy. He's just coming up. He's working lap after lap until he wears them down. Boom, there's another one gone.
He's certainly enjoying the challenge too. If you listen to him, I mean, like you always look at it. You see him on these, American media, shows, and you think, hang on, what have you done with Shane? I mean, he looks like Shane. The voice sounds like Shane, but that's he's happy. He's joking. He's out there in front of the media having a good time, and it's like, wow, this is the Shane van Gisbergen that we've seen. But I think he's just so comfortable there. And he addresses it in the interview where and it's once again another indictment on supercars and supercars media, he said, we were just so controlled over in Australia. He said, we had to be careful what we said and who we spoke to and how we spoke. And he said, I've got just so much freedom to just come out and say, basically say what I need to say, and if I've got an opinion, I can state that opinion. Whereas clearly here it was like, okay, here's the agenda, here's the spin we want put on this, and you're not to depart from this. And he didn't like that at all, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's doing very well at the moment. Also, coming up, we've got Sebring for the Sebring 12 Hours is coming up. We'll see the US debut of the Lamborghini, we've also got the news come
baby.
through very early that Cadillac and Chip Ganassi are parting ways. I mean, they've only really just started the relationship in especially in the WEC, and did pretty well in the first round. But Cadillac have made the announcement that at the end of this year they'll be looking for alternatives from Chip Ganassi. So once again, there's been no. I haven't heard anything. Mark, have you heard anything as to why this has happened? Why they've fallen apart so quickly?
Well, they've been together for a couple of seasons now, but they were beaten in the US series last year by the other Cadillac team, Action Express Racing, and there is a rumor to suggest that Action Express will be expanding to a second car. So maybe it's that they're involved, and there's also but the flip side of that is Action Express can't run a European car for them, so so there's all kinds of speculation as to who might take over. But as for the relationship with Chip Ganassi, well, it's hard to know. I suppose there is that dichotomy though with the IndyCars being a Honda team and not a Chevrolet team.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if behind the scenes, I mean, we know that Acura are run only in the North American Sports Car Championship with IMSA, but there are very strong rumours that that they will at some stage get involved in the WEC as with the Honda brand, and that would seem to be a good fit if they wanted to. If they wanted a team that they could sort of, who has that experience, they could possibly jump in with them. There's one of the teams that has been sort of, flagged to possibly take over the Cadillac WEC program has been United Autosport, who of course been very, very successful in LMP2, and
and they're running McLarens in the GT3. Well, it's not the World Championship. They have a different name for the title, the Endurance Cup, or that supports the Hypercar World Championship. But yeah, so I guess it would be helpful for United to have a team in both championships.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
Both classes, I should say.
They've made the announcement so early. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, they're going through it. I mean, you would expect that. I mean, it'll be handled very professionally. I mean, Chip Ganassi has been around a long time. And he's had this in all sorts of racing where he seems to drift. He's sort of very agnostic, as you said. He's run the Ford GT program. The same time runs a General Motors program in NASCAR, and then he was runs Honda in IndyCar, and it doesn't really matter to him. It's basically whoever pays the money. I mean, he'll run whatever they want him to run, and he'll do the most professional job possible. But I can see the advantages for if Honda did want to get involved in WEC. He'd certainly be a very good pick for them, because he also brings all those drivers. The driver talent, some of his IndyCar. People like Scott Dixon and all the rest of it who pop
Sebastian
in.
Bourdais and
so he's a good performer. There's no doubt about it. He's one of the best teams in the world. Very professional. So interesting to see what they do. But that'll be on the week. That'll be on it's this weekend, is it?
I think Sebring's this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be on. You go to imsa.tv and you'll be able to watch the live stream of that over the course of the weekend. I'm assuming starting sometime late Saturday night or early Sunday morning, and then going into the early hours of the morning. So it's not a bad. You can usually watch the first couple of hours and the last couple of hours, and also if you can't find imsa.tv, there'll be a link on Radio Le Mans website as well. So Radio Show Limited, of course, John Hindhoff and Shay Adam and the team doing the commentary for Sebring. In fact, they're all over there now, and they'll be doing midweek motorsport from there tomorrow morning at about 7 o'clock Australian time. So if you're looking for something to listen to on your way to work or something, get on to Midweek Motorsport and hear them live from with their preview live from Sebring.
We'll certainly have plenty to talk about.
Yes, well, they're certainly there, and they'll have Nick Damon's review of the Formula One, no doubt, which will probably be he'll be about as excited about it as I am at the moment. Okay, everybody, I think yes, I think Roy's saying good to see you back, Chris. Yes.
Thank you, Roy.
Queen Armstrong, just by the by, was the sorry, no, not Queen Armstrong. Lockie Hughes. Queen Armstrong is in the lesser of the Formula 2000 series in the US. No, Lockie Hughes is the guy who's doing good things. Queenslander from the Gold Coast, who's he's had a couple of pole positions. Hasn't had a win. Oh, sorry, he won the first race. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong part of the charts. So yeah, a win and 2 poles and second place, leading the championship by 8 points over Nikita Johnson. There's a New Zealander in that series as well, who's in.
There's always a New Zealander.
Well, yeah, we spoke about that last week about the Giltrap effect. So yeah, there's there's go Lachlan, go do great things.
Yeah, I must admit I laughed at this when I saw this myself today. Peter Adderton posting earlier today, we're less than a week away from media comments from Formula One drivers who would love to race a supercar at Bathurst, but will an F1 driver qualify for supercar superlicense? Well, they will. Well, the thing is, they will, because if you have a look, there is an out. There is and I call it the Valtteri Bottas
the third Australian.
Yeah, because Valtteri has sort of said that when he's racing, he's probably going to end up at the moment probably living or spending at least a good time of his life in Australia, and he's already said that he would really like to. He would really like to actually drive a supercar. But as Peter pointed out today, and it's the same thing that happens at Le Mans as well. It's like there will be all of the the breathless headlines, Hamilton to race supercars when Verstappen, I want to race the Bathurst 12-hour, and they haven't. I did the same joke about Le Mans. Every time we went to Le Mans, you knew when there were, apart from us, because we never asked that question, Melissa or I, but if there were other Australians in any of the media sessions at Le Mans, the first question that came from an Australian accent was, do you know anything about Bathurst, and do you watch supercars? Would you like to race a supercar at Bathurst one day? And they all go, oh, it looks like a great track, and yeah, perhaps one day. And I said, yes. I said at one stage, I said, you watch front page auto action, Alan McNish, My Bathurst Dream, and 4 days later, along the bottom, McNish, My Bathurst Dream. Yeah, it's like have we seen Alan McNish at Bathurst? No. Have we seen Alan McNish anywhere? Probably not. But I mean, he certainly wasn't here, and it's the focus of every Australian journalist when they talk to any international driver is, do you want to race at Bathurst? Well, I'm sure they do, but they probably want to race at the 12-hour, which is an actual international event with actual international teams and international cars, and not the joke that runs around in October.
You do remember, of course, them asking that same question of Jack Brabham when we were both there.
We were
that
there,
was sensational.
What? I'm sorry.
Hello?
Yeah, like I said, we never had any problems at all with Jack's. Jack's poor hearing was very, very selective.
That's
they
nice.
actually had It was
It's
a
a nice
Channel
chat to
9.
have, I suppose.
It was a Channel 9 reporter, and it was at the MCG where they had his World Championship winning car on display at the Museum of Australian Sport. And it was the launch of that, and Richard and I were there, and we were waiting to sort of chat to Jack for the interview. And this journalist, and I think the first question was, "You must be very proud," and oh yes, very proud of having the car here, and and the achievements of Repco, and there. Of course, great disappointment of your career is you won 3 world champions. You never won the Bathurst 1000. And Jack's going, I'm sorry? Sorry, what? I'm sorry. You had a few goes, but is that something that you really regret now? I'm sorry. My hearing's in the end. He went, turned around, looked at me,
You
and
stupid
said,
old bugger.
turned around and said to me as we're sitting there going, good luck, mate. Deaf as a post. We sat there. We did an interview with Jack. Had no problems at all. Ended up joining him and his wife for a snack and a drink for lunch, and had never ever had a problem. Never had a problem at all with Jack and his hearing. Yes. But so Jack was. So perhaps that's something that the international drivers need to learn from Jack in terms when they hear the word supercar and Bathurst used in any sentence. Also, the other one that, as that somebody pointed out in response to Peter's post was you will get that's on your Neil Crompton Mark Scaife bingo card for the weekend of course all the drivers and all the Formula One teams are all out watching the supercars. They love them.
That was a Darrell Eastlake thing back in the day.
Yes. Yeah, they sometimes find a driver who's there because they know somebody in the race, or they've got a friend who's an engineer or something like that, and they've gone round to have a look, and it's like, and there's Jos Verstappen, or there's somebody looking at one of the many. They all pour out of the garages to watch the supercars because they're the most. They don't have no idea it's even on. It's like Roy said, it's like they run the script through Chat GPT every year. That's artificial intelligence.
They learned very quickly not to ask Mark Webber that question.
Well, Mark had the other one. This is the Mark Webber, the one that he got, and this is the other thing that the Formula One drivers cop when they come for the Australian Grand Prix from the mainstream media is, have you seen a game of AFL? Who's your favourite team? And Mark said to me one stage, he said, I'm sorry. He said, I'm a Canberra boy. I grew up with rugby. I love my rugby. I have no interest in Australian rules. And he said every time, and they always pair them up with. There's always in the lead up. There's always insert famous Formula One drivers here had an opportunity to join in the training session at insert local AFL club here. And that happened out at Calder Park. We were out at Calder Park with when Toyota were in Formula One with
Adelaide, I assume.
No, that was here, and he was.
No, I mean the Adelaide Crows, sponsored by Toyota.
They weren't sponsored by Toyota, but they had the football du jour was James Hird from Essendon.
Oh.
And they had a general, and I always sort of say, okay, the guys who are getting paid for mainstream is 7, 9, and all the rest of it. If it's a media scrum, give them their due, just stand back. They can ask their questions, and then if there's an opportunity afterwards, I'll jump in and ask my questions if I need to. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm having major seniors moments at the moment. But Timo Glock, he was there, and all they could ask him was, you're out here with James Hird. He's a local champion. Are you going to Essendon are playing on Friday night against Carlton? Are you going out there for the match? And Oh, I don't know. And have you had an opportunity? You went out to training the other day. Do you think that AFL drivers could make good Formula One drivers? Every bloody question was about AFL and bloody and football, and whether he what he thought of football and what he thought of the players and what a terrific bloke James Hird was and all the rest of it. And in the end, I just you could see poor Tara was floundering, and I jumped in and started asking some motor racing questions. And at the end of the day, as I think I've said this before, that's how I ended up in the Toyota garage at on the Friday there, because they said, could we use your questions and your footage for some Toyota promotional stuff, because we can't use any of that other stuff because nobody will know what the hell they were talking about. They didn't ask a single Grand Prix related question. It was all, what do you think of footy? It was, yeah.
Very
Nothing like
sad.
researching your subject, is there?
Mhm.
Yeah, well, they couldn't care less. I mean, they're looking for to hit the main thing, but it was with Mark Webber. We were at Albert Park for the launch of the Grand Prix when they used to have a launch for the Grand Prix. Not
I remember the footage.
and we walked out. We did all of the mainstream media stuff, and we were walking out, and here's Mark standing by himself, leaning up against one of the palm trees there. Nobody around, this huge media scrum around Nathan Buckley, and Mark just standing there by himself. And as I walked up and said, feeling a bit lonely. And he went, and that's when he said, I know nothing of, every time I come here, they ask me about bloody football. And I said, I'm a rugby. He said, ask me about rugby. I can talk all day. Ask me about tennis. Happy. I don't know. I know nothing about Australian rules football. But yeah, very, very. As Russell's saying, like you were severe cringe. It really is at times. But I'm sure you'll see. You know the script they'll go through. There'll be one of them down. There'll be a Formula One driver learning to surf. There'll be a Formula One driver at the zoo patting a koala and/or kangaroo or both. There will be somebody going up and having a ride with the roulettes, and there will be somebody at a football club, and that'll be the scope of the media. You used to get the media diary, and there was like a whole week of things to go. Now the media diary comes out, and it's basically Wednesday. One driver will be at the zoo, one driver will be one driver, and that's it. So yeah, Gunther Steiner is getting a. Getting a lap in ticketed car Hotham. I'm not sure. I think that might be Facebook's. Auto spell or something jumped in there. But Gunther Steiner is going to run around. Roy will be there, getting there, and hopefully, who knows, might be able to throw a microphone somewhere in the face of good. It's a great event, that Adelaide one. Adelaide always do a fabulous job. So rinse repeat. Yeah, very much so. But so anyway, as I said, coming up this week on our show, talking about Carrera Cup at Albert Park, and also TCR is Dylan O'Keefe. He joined us for a chat. Hopefully, I'm hoping that when I click on here, I've got it says 3 successful transfers. So hopefully the show is up at Channel 31 now. I just got in sort of after a day away and found out. I said, "Hey, hang on, it's a failed transfer. We don't have your episodes for tomorrow night." So I've just been transferring that in the background while we've been here. So it says that it's there. So fingers crossed it will be there. And tomorrow night at 9:30, you can see and hear from Dylan O'Keefe, and he talks about Carrera Cup and also TCR as well, and driving the Lincoln Co. this year, and interesting about how different it is from the previous TCRs that he's driven. Says that it's very much says it doesn't really feel like a front wheel drive car. He said it's a very, very very, very different feel to the other TCR cars that he's driven. So there, but he's in action this weekend. Only 13 cars. The problem is getting the same with the sports sedans and all the other categories over there. The cost of getting cars to Tasmania and back is ridiculous. It's just, basically the moment you put a truck or a trailer onto that ship, you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars.
That's how the ferry makes its money. I strongly suspect it's not from the passengers, it's not from the cars, it's from the trucks and the businesses.
Yeah, that's it. That's there, and it really is. I mean, some of the people who go down for the Baskerville Historics are very lucky if they've got a road registered car. They don't take it down on the trailer. They drive the car onto the ferry and say, "Hey, it's a road car," and drive it on, and it goes down there for about $300. And then when they get to Launceston, they've arranged for somebody to come around with a trailer or a car transport or something to take them down the rest of the way. But if you do like Bill Hemming does, where he takes the transporter down and a couple of cars on it, it's a very, very expensive proposition. And I know a lot of people who've said, they've seen the footage that we've run over the past 2 years from Baskerville Historic, and we had people on the weekend at Phillip Island saying, "Oh, I'd love to go down to that. That track looks amazing, but it's just so expensive." So so it's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate for the Tasmania, and that's what's happened this weekend. I think with a few of the sports sedan runners, and perhaps even some of the TCR, because they're expecting for the Phillip Island round for TCR to go back to 15 cars, which is still not brilliant, but it's better than 13. There, and the racing was good. The racing was good for the first round, and I know they're trying very hard. They've got all the manufacturing. They've got that manufacturer involvement that supercars would actually die for. And Hyundai do a terrific job. Hyundai really have embraced it. They spend a lot of time and money, bringing clients in and VIPs and all the rest of it to be a part of the weekend and do tours, and they have drive days, and they do a great job in terms of their activation, and Honda are involved as well. Honda have a factory involvement, but apart from that, it was we'll see if anybody beats the Peugeots this weekend, because they were dominant at the first round. Ben Bagwana and his team there, they did a great job over the course of the weekend, and Aaron Cameron and those guys. So anyway, let's call it. Hang on, Boxer's got the two with one is the worst. I don't recall that one.
Oh, that was Queensland radio personalities Ash and Lutzy invaded the when they were doing comedy sports journalism, invaded the press conference at the AGP one year, and Ash Bradnam asked a question which twisted one and several, and like ONE, WON, and WUAN into a convoluted question that just switched everybody off by the end of it.
So I guess it wasn't funny either.
No.
Yeah, it was.
Well, no.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. See, that was it. It became it was the Norman Gunston thing. I mean, Norman Gunston did that, and everybody, and then suddenly you had a whole bunch of comedians who decided that they want to. My one was out at Sandown with Strawny, Peter Hillier's with the celebrity race when he was out there, and he was annoying the international journalists who were out there were saying, is this guy real? I mean, is this? I said, no, it's a character. And I was explaining I was actually explained it to, he was the manager of KISS, because Gene Simmons and Tommy Thayer were out there. And he was just, and they were doing sort of a behind the scenes, thing of their tour, and something for a reality television, Gene Simmons reality television show.
Oh, that's right.
And he was pushing, and he came up and he said, "Is this guy? Is this guy real? I mean, is this what? I explained it, and he went, Well, it would be nice because he was doing it he was staying in character the whole time when he was off. I was like, "Oh, you want to talk to Strawny? Strawny, I'm a legend around here. Strawny's a multiple premiership legend with Collingwood." And they're sitting there going, "What the hell is this guy talking about?" And in the end, they filmed something and they said, "Oh, let's just do something, with him and just get him out of the road base." Now, I'm sure they never used it, but the international media who were there were far from impressed. Because it was like, we've got a job to. We're trying to talk to some of the international drivers who were there, and I think on that day there was also. This is how long ago it was. I think Robert Kubica was there because I know we had quite a long chat with Robert. He's a lovely guy. I mean, we went back 2 years later, and he got out of his car. Came, "Oh, hello, how are you again?" And long time no see. And lovely guy. But yeah, I think that's that was one of the things that went around this, comedians, taking over press conferences to get themselves across, and that's not the idea. And the serious journalists were quite rightly very, very annoyed with it. But hopefully we won't have any of that this weekend. Yeah. Anyway, let's
actually
call
spent a stint in a commentary box at the Bathurst 24-hour with once. That was not the most fun experience that I've had.
Really? You'll have to tell us all about it next week.
Yes, I think that's it.
Really.
But probably wants to forget about it. But thanks everybody for joining us. We managed to waffle on, and I think this week it is waffle on. I must admit, whether it's tonight or tomorrow night, I'm not having the best of weeks. So I'm sort of I'm going through the motions at the moment. So my apologies for this week, but we're there and we're ploughing through, and hopefully we will plough through again next week on the program. As I said, tomorrow night, be watching In Pit Lane on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel or on Channel 31 for our interview with Dylan O'Keefe. Oh, also, I almost forgot our stuff from Phillip Island. We've got interviews with Roger Williams about the McLaren and that thing in a straight line. I was trying to film the thing because we didn't have any footage, and I was walking to go somewhere else to get the Formula 5000s. And then I suddenly realized the McLaren was out. So I got as quickly as I could to somewhere, to the end of the hairpin formerly known as Honda. And I could hear it coming down the main straight. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll get the present. I'll follow it down and I'll follow it round Southern Loop and all the rest of it. And I'd go back and I'd get there and it's like, where is it? And then I'd suddenly look up and it was halfway around Southern Loop. It was flying. It was absolutely in a straight line. And you'll see in the interview, Roger's going, "Oh, it's not very good. It's not a good car around here." He was just totally dominant. The thing was just, blindingly quick. It sounded amazing, looked great. But the footage, I put some stuff online with the formation lap. 35 Formula 5000s, Formula Atlantic, Formula Pacific, Formula 3000.
What happened? Oh, go on. You might be answering the question I was about to ask.
Well, we lost. We did lose a couple of cars. Unfortunately, in the first race of there was an incident which took out the Skull Bandit Indy car. So that was out.
Jason Clements.
The Beatrice.
Oh no, sorry.
There.
Sorry,
I didn't see the other one.
That was they had a turbo failure pretty much upon installation while warming the car up. So they were there. They just didn't.
Because we were only there
onto the circuit.
Doc and I were only there on the Saturday, and it was like, and I didn't get everything that I wanted, but it was a case of, after one day of 42, and it wasn't just me, it was the car sort of driving down there again. Poor Getsy was really, really struggling in that heat with the aircon on and all the rest of it. So it was like I woke up on the Sunday morning, went, no, one, I can't afford it, and two, I'm probably asking for trouble either myself physically or with the equipment. Because as I said, we basically lost 2 cameras. One of them was just a temporary thing; it shut down to protect itself for safe, for thermal reasons, to throttle down. And that was the end. That was the end of it. And but thankfully, it kept going long enough for us to get the footage of the Formula 5000 or the group groups Q&R and.
The question I had was something went wrong in the Sunday race for Q&Rs, but I don't. But you weren't there on Sunday, so
yeah. Well, Roy was down there. He might have said that there were.
It was a no. Like the Sunday morning race was a no race.
Yeah, I heard that. And then if you had a look at the last race, most of the Formula 5, because the Formula 5000s had one race of their own, and that was for the Kevin Bartlett Trophy, because Kevin announced his retirement. I mean, Kevin has been the driving standards officer for the Formula 5000s locally and for the VHRR for quite some time, and he announced his decision to pull aside. I didn't catch up with Kevin, unfortunately. Saw him at a distance. We were just being there the one day. It was flat out like I saw people at a distance. So Doc caught up, I think, very briefly with Steve Richards. I saw, but. Apart from that, apart from the 3 interviews that we did, we really didn't have time to get around and talk to the people like we normally would. So it was very, very hectic. And of course, being with the heat and all the rest of it, any opportunity you had to get out of the heat and go up to the meeting center. Incidentally, thank you, Graham McLean from the VHRR. Thank you for your assistance on the weekend. They had a very small media center, which was basically a table. And realised very quickly that we were going to basically fill it up. So he opened up a spare room in the place for us, and basically gave that to me and Doc, and to base ourselves and to recharge batteries and to put equipment in and all the rest of it. So thank you to Graham from the VHRR for his support on the weekend. That made life an awful lot easier, especially when we got back with all of the, Doc came back with a handful of camera, which he managed to, he kept shooting. I mean, unfortunately, as he said, he did get some shots which we used in the story, albeit just handheld, because we couldn't mount it on the tripod anymore, and because it was all in pieces. But anyway, now Roy's got because Roy was there. Yeah, didn't see what happens. It was Siberia stayed at Siberia all day for the second 5000 race. Yeah, because that was Siberia, sort of where I usually go, and that's where I was on the Saturday. It's a good spot to film from. Saying Callan from Callan, who normally shoots down in Tasmania, he was up there, and he's got the luxury. He just basically spends all of the weekend just filming on track stuff, really. So chances are, if he was on that corner, he might have got it. But once again, it's just one person with one camera. We had 3 cameras out on Saturday, one locked off, Doc on one camera and me on the other. So we covered a bit of the track, but you really do need 3 or 4 people, and it's such a shame. I mean, that people keep saying, "Oh, is it going to be streamed live? Is it going to be streamed live?" And unfortunately, it wasn't, because basically because Ian Tate, as the president of there, is very much opposed to live streaming the event. He just says, no, if people want to see it, they can come down and see it. They can pay money at the gate and they can come in. We're not giving it away on video, because we tried for years to do a live stream down there in terms of covering them, and we've had meetings with them, and Ian has always said, I'm not keen. I'm not, I think they covered it in the COVID year, and that was the thing, and then it was like, no, we're not doing that again. But okay, so Roy's saying Callan had his dad there too, so he had he had a couple of corners covered. He's got good gear too. I've seen Callan's gear. I've spoken to Callan and we used some of his footage at Baskerville a couple of years ago. And Callan has much better, as indeed does Roy, has much better gear than we have. I tell you what. I mean, yes, that's nice. It's nice to have cameras that shoot 4K and over 50 frames a second and all that sort of thing, and do super slow motion and there, rather than something that was purchased at the turn of the century. But anyway, Okay, let's.
Former
Sorry, Mark, just quickly.
Oh, I was just going to say my former colleague Mark Walker was shooting some stuff down there as well. Been putting some video up via Race Talk.
Oh, okay, got there. Mark, I haven't seen his videos. So Mark does some really good still stuff. Mark's photography. Mark has a very good eye. He has some really good really good still photos of all the stuff that he covers, and that's on their website as well. Okay, listen, we've waffled. Yeah, we continue to waffle on. Let's get out of here, everybody. Yes, we apologise for tonight's program. I apologise for me. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, if we haven't driven you away forever. Okay, we'll see you next week, everybody. Bye now.
No,
Good night.